Well, hey, Gundam fans, welcome to another episode of Gundam Explained. For today's episode, we're continuing our look at 8th MS Team with the 8th episode, Duty and Ideals. This episode's pretty serious. It's a further culmination of things that have been continuing, but they are looked at in a real-world aspect in a way. I don't know, it's pretty interesting. This is where kind of the worlds of the characters kind of change based on I guess everything that's been going on. Before we get started, if you haven't, please subscribe. And as you watch it, and it's pretty cool, give it a like. That helps me out. But let's get started. Last we left off, it was with Shiro, Aina. They're kind of out, in the frozen wilderness, Himalayan mountains, perhaps Tibet. And this was a scenario where one would have maybe defeated the other, made sure they killed the other, I guess, if they were following the commands, what they're supposed to be doing on their respective side, either Federation or Zeon. Aina made sure to have the Obsolescence destroyed, the prototype, or the version 2, just so it didn't get in the hands of the Feddies. Shiro didn't really bother trying to kill Aina. They reconnected after that first episode, and they were able to look past all that to see each other for who they were. And again, another big thing about 8th MS Team is really showing the individual that's caught up in the war and what life means to them in general. So what this then leads to is a court-martial. As he's being questioned, is he working with Zeon? Is that why he didn't do anything? And the conflict that's going on inside of him is going by the rules, what's set by being in the Federation, but then his personal interest in someone, which it's a quality that has positive aspects because he's not trying to do something that's necessarily selfish, maybe in the way that he likes someone and wants to be with them, but also he cares about someone. And it even further drives home a lot of his care with how he wants to be able to do things without getting people killed. And that happens in this episode. It's pretty interesting. And then we see Aina with her brother Gineas, and he confronts her about possibly being in love with a Fedi soldier. She's doing her best to deflect, deny, not get him all angry at her or mad. He's quite the loose cannon, and we'll actually see a bit more of that here in a second. But we've seen, especially in the previous episodes, her doubts with her brother. She truly loves her brother, but also recognizes some of the unethical practices he's willing to partake in order to get his mission accomplished. A funny picture they use that they happen to get, that's when near the end of the last episode, when the ships are flying by, able to spot them, I guess they had a satellite camera zoomed in, seeing her on top of him. Looks kind of funny, but really she was pushing him out of the way from being attacked. But just kind of a funny picture for them to use. And it's truly making her upset. You can kind of see the tears in her eyes. One thing I noticed watching this episode, and I don't know what it is. Is it my new monitor? Is it Hulu versus streaming? I don't know, but there's just, it looks, when I say Hulu versus streaming, I'm streaming off of my rips that I have on Blu-ray. But the art in this episode looks very well done. There's a lot of major plot elements that occur in this episode, so it could be that a lot of the budget, and I think I've seen this with previous episodes too, you could tell where budget is put in to certain components, and I would feel this is the episode for that. The hand-drawn animation, the coloring, all aspects look very well done in this episode. And we're going back and forth because the characters, Shiro and Aina, are almost speaking the same things in defense for what they were doing. There's this idea of the rules of engagement versus an enemy soldier and their ideals, their morals, their character. And that's where you can see Shiro and Aina are pretty similar in that regard. And, Shiro's confronted and he's asked, if you had to shoot, an enemy officer, would you do it? Would you be able to just shoot the enemy? And what's going through his head is the idea of really not wanting to have to kill people in this war, but not wanting to have war in the first place. And if there's a potential to avoid having to kill someone in battle if you don't have to. And that's brought up a lot in this episode. And even as he's trying to discuss his side, an officer in the back, where you don't see, they have the eyes covered to make him faceless, but just kind of laughs at him, which further drives the idea how a lot of people don't align with the thinking, or maybe haven't gone through a scenario where they felt a lot of compassion for another. Yeah, really cool shot here. It's just Shiro looking up at some damaged mobile suits. I just really like the art, the animation, see the details of mobile suits, because that's kind of what we're here for anyway. All right, now we're getting to another story that's taking place where they're going to merge. Is we see a couple Zaku's here in the water. Now they're actually looking for some place to eat, and they're thinking of going to a village to get some food. But really, the main commander, who we see in like a Zaku 1 with the commander Finn, if that is correct, if anyone has any specific details on that type of Zaku, please leave them in the comments. But the leader is telling her forces, or the troops with her, we're going to go to the village to get some food, but do not engage. We can't have a bloodbath. This needs to be done properly, which is cool to see. And at the same time, it further shows how individuals within either the Zeon or Federation have good morals and good ethics. They're just following their orders. And who we're meeting is this character named Topp. She is a commander for her unit, let's see, with the rank of 2nd lieutenant. And then she has 2 men who follow under her command, Adele and Arth. And so that's who we're following in these next few scenes. And again, she seems like a cool character because, one, those are some pretty neat earrings. They seem like V-fins, but separated from the head and then put on the ears. But also a lot of Principality of Zeon has that kind of exaggerated either crest, shoulder look based on that Zeon symbol that they're using there. Cool look. Zaku, they'll go back in the cockpit, and then here's Kiki with the gorillas. So even though they're the kids of the village, her village is the gorillas that are the resistance. They're fighting back any conflict, and she's seen what's going on with these Zaku's and telling the kids she would to go run back to the village and warn them. And again, just taking a second, just seeing an individual cell here. Just we got the foreground, the parallaxing. You've got just the way the colors and the shading work. Again, this seems like top-notch animation on this episode. And the nostril. See, there's detail in the nose. Really cool to see the scale of the mobile suits moving. And we're seeing them in the water, and I like how it pans up so we get the scale of where they're going to and the size of the village. Oh, look, they've got an underground lair. Yuri, the admiral that we met from before, that met Ginius or talked to Ginius at that party they had, but then was in Odessa and they retreated. He's telling Ginius that, this is a battle that's going to be fought in space. Your project, the Obsolus experiment, that's done, that's over with. And Ginius gets mad and he pulls out his gun and shoots the screen and keeps firing. And again, very good animation here. I really like how top-notch all this is. But it's kind of scary to see how far Ginius is going. He's even willing to not only pull the gun on his sister, but he even pulls the trigger. And there's no bullet left. Now, he could have known, he might have known that there was no more bullets in any of the chambers there. He was just doing that to further scare her, for him to somehow express this anger he has, because he has no other way to really calm himself down. I bet that tells Aina a lot. Very cool shot here. Doing a YMCA. So we can see people are working in the fields, right? They're self-sustain on this village farm. And he's got a rocket launcher there, like an anti-MS, perhaps, rocket or anti-tank, whatever the girls can get their hands on. But the idea is they know that the Zeons are showing up at the village to get some food, but they are to not engage. They are going to do what they can to just get them to move along. And then her dad is in the know, so we've met him before, Kiki's dad. He's in this back larger house. He's watching to kind of get an idea. And we hear him talking about her, and he's kind of proud of her, of taking charge. Also, the maid mentioned that she seems to have a thing for Shiro, the Fetty soldier, and they, I guess, don't have a problem with that. They're kind of laughing about it, just saying how she's growing up now. So kind of a cool father-daughter moment. Yeah, and some of the villagers or guerrillas are hiding around the corner with some weapons just in case something does happen. And something does indeed happen. One of the other pilots under Topp is like, oops, dropped something, and really drops his heat hawk, and it almost lands on a kid. And so they're already starting some trouble. And Topp even gets out of her mobile suit to plead, with the villagers, hey, we just need some food and we'll move along. Back at the bar, we see some other members of the 8th MS team hanging out. And they're just talking about how, the commander, got in trouble. He's actually confined to his quarters. 7th MS team happens to show up too at the bar and saying, hey, I think there's some Zaku's showing up at Village. And the 8th MS team's like, we should tell Commander. We got to do something about it. They're not sending anyone out to help them just in case. So we can kind of see where the members of the 8th MS team picked up on Shiro's kind of compassion that he has. And they decided to take matters in their own hands. So Karen and Mikhail, they show up at Shiro's quarters and they let him know, hey, this is what's going on. And Shiro's thinking there's nothing we can do. He's like, you know what? We got to go ahead and roll out. Now, the old man happened to have a paper signed by Kojima, the main commander guy, that it's probably forged documents, but just saying that they're, I guess can roll out if someone was to stop them and needing to see their papers. So they're taking that, and the team's going to head out and see what they can do about saving the villagers. Yeah, here's a really cool shot. Just seeing the 3 Zaku's there, just hanging out. Again, just cool to see stuff like this because this is drawn very realistically. The shading, the wear, the tear, even the colors. These aren't the extreme green that we normally see with Zaku's. It's a little lighter. Is that supposed to be desert colors or something more? If anyone, has any more detail, please leave it in below. But some other cool stuff. We see the shoulder armor here. It's broken at the top, and the other Zaku all the way over there doesn't even have the shoulder armor. And if I didn't know better, that almost looks like a RX-78-2 or GM shield back there. Maybe repurposed. Maybe we'll get some more shots of that later. So as they're rolling out, Karen and Sanders are standing by at kind of a sniper's distance. And Shiro is with Mikkel in the hover tank, and they're, I guess, rolling out some communication cable so they can still communicate. But Shiro's asking them to take some shots from a distance. Now, Karen brings up the issue with that, where if they accidentally hit the reactor, it could completely destroy the village. But also, he's saying it's better chance, it's lower risk than if they were to just barge right in the village and all start fighting, because you're still going to have that occurring. And, with the, I guess, confusion of sniper fire could allow the Zaku's to disperse, but something happens anyway. Yeah, there's another look at that shield. Yeah, that's totally the GM or RX-78-2 shield. Just repainted and repurposed. And we're seeing some interesting back and forth. They were given the food to those Zaku soldiers or the Zeon soldiers, and this one kid gets given back a bowl made out of shell casing, and the Zaku pilot had a picture next to him posted of like a little kid, so it's probably like his son, and that's why he's acting this way. Again, showing that not all Zeon soldiers are bad. Yeah, and then there's that picture I was talking about, and yeah, just very nice, kind of a kind scene to add in this to give more weight to what's about to happen. So as Kiki's delivering food, she gets picked up by the Zaku, and it's a pilot that, dropped his heat hawk accidentally, and he's kind of being a jerk here. And now this causes Topp to point her gun at him, and she's like, he's like, you wouldn't shoot me, would you? And she's all like, yeah, I'll just say that, you died in battle or whatever. I guess because she's tired of his crap, and obviously this leads to something bad. So as we can see, someone just shows up, fires a rocket, completely destroys the Zaku. Very cool. So I guess Sanders is in his mobile suit, I guess, mapping something out, but it's just neat to kind of see these controls, how we have maybe the more ergonomic shaped touch controls for the keyboard and just some other analytics there. Just kind of cool to see that. But what's going on is then the team hears that attack that occurred, and they hadn't fired off a shot yet. Just a shot appreciating the cool Zaku's we have here. And a Zaku ignites its thrusters, and it completely destroys the house and the occupants in it. Ouch, and that was Kiki's dad. And Shiro finally meets up with Kiki. And Shiro's giving this speech right now because he's saying, all right, we need to draw them to the river. We need to get them out of here. But the villagers want to stand and fight, especially because they attacked them. Kiki's dad is now dead. And, Shiro was kind of saying, let's try to get through this without getting anyone killed. I don't want those pilots to die either. But it's really, the villagers really want to go through with stopping them. They feel like it's the best course of action considering everything that happened. And then Shiro goes along with it because he can see it depends on the situation when you might have to kill someone when you're in battle. And I guess this goes back almost to what he was asked of earlier in the episode is, are you willing, to shoot a Zeon soldier? There's some cool shots. The beam rifle. Another cool shot. So he's asking the Zeon pilot to surrender, right? And then she tries to take another shot off, but he destroys the gun. So he's like, come on, you need to surrender. And she opens her cockpit. In doing so, the villagers just run after her in the Zaku with weapons to just try to go and kill her, even though he was hoping to save her. But because all the villagers are running at her, she shoots off her anti-personnel weaponry, defense weaponry that some mobile suits have just in case, and it rains down and kills all of them. So Shiro's like in the middle of this, no, we don't want anyone to die, let's not do this. Wait, no, we don't want anyone to die, let's not do this. And everyone ends up dying. Now, they're all crying, they're sad, but she is thinking, Shiro, that they all would have been wiped out if he didn't show up. Again, they're sad, they've lost a lot of people, but it's better than the alternative. Yeah, and that kind of leads us to the end, which is kind of a sad ending. A really neat episode. It's very serious. We get to see where the characters, even with good intentions, get them involved in situations that they don't want to have to be in, where then people react a certain way. Again, kind of very dark and sad, but still a good episode. So yeah, hopefully you liked my little review of this episode. Please leave in the comments if you have any more details about maybe the MS that were featured in here, especially those cool-looking Zakus, the Zaku 1 to the Commander type, and the characters they introduced. Even though we don't get to see Topp a whole lot, that was a very cool character that they introduced a little bit. Maybe there's some history on that character that we can look into later. But anyway, thanks for watching. We'll talk later.